Imagine if you can create whatever you want in this life. Your world, the thing that you think is controlled by other people, what if you could change everything in your reality just by thinking different? What I'm going to be doing on my channel is bringing you into my world. And the best way that I'm going to do that is through my daily life, daily stories. And I've been sick. My family's been sick this past 2 weeks or so. I'm the only one, though, out of my wife, two daughters, that didn't really show any symptoms. And my wife kept asking me, how come you have so much energy? How do you feel so positive? How do you not feel what we feel right now? And there's a part of me that acknowledges I probably had whatever they were sick with, a cold or runny nose, whatever the case might be. But there's this part of my brain that's like, just don't believe it exists and it won't. Don't believe you're tired. Don't believe or acknowledge that you're sick. Don't believe or acknowledge that you're gonna get sick. Don't believe or acknowledge all of the things that they're feeling. The tiredness, the runny nose, the sneezing, not being able to sleep, having to go to sleep. Don't even regard it. Act and operate as if it's just another day. And that's exactly what I've been doing and what I do up until today. And I think we are coming down from it all, but I have been able to persevere through it without it letting it affect my business, my life, my workouts, none of it. Why? Because of conditioning, programming, how I choose to believe what is my reality. And a lot of people will think this is too far-fetched, but stay with me. I mean, think about it. If you're new to me or if you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't come from money. I don't come from anything special. I come from the Philippines, moved to the United States, went through a hard time being a kid. Family went through a divorce at a young age, started doing drugs, started drinking, started going down the wrong path, barely graduated high school, never went to college. I probably have the least formal education than most people, never went to business school or whatever people do to become licensed for business, and I've still dominated it in life and in business. How is that possible when there's so many other people that come from a third world country, that come from the ghetto, that come from nothing and stay in the nothingness of their life? Well, it has 100% to do with what I chose to believe is possible for me and what could be my reality. I always had this idea, this vision of this beautiful, peaceful life, right? Because I lived in chaos for a majority of my life. I was like, man, there's got to be a way to live a peaceful life, making money, being comfortable, feeling secure, stable, all of that. And I wanted that since I was about probably 11. You know, when shit started going sideways, we couldn't afford, $1, $1.50 for lunch. Shit got weird. So what I did was I started going on Google, and from the myspace.com days, if you remember that, I learned how to customize my profile, coding, blah, 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 Google codes, and how to make your profile have only a top 5 or a top 3 to show who your real homies are, type of deal. And what that led me into was learning how to build websites. It taught me how to run Google ads or AdSense, make money from that as a boy. It taught me how to leverage other people who were 18 to open up PayPal accounts for me so I can run and operate a business. I started my first business at 13 years old because I could see that there's a way to make money different from the rest of the world. I built my first business at 13, cashed out, did a big ass sale at 14, bought my first car cash, 1993 black BMW 325i, with the $5,000 in cash I did from a deal. So at 14 and a half years old, 5K cash, I think I put 4K towards the car or something like that because I had some money left over. Nobody could take that from me. It was like this chip on my shoulder where I wanted to earn things for myself, where divorce couldn't take it from me. My mother, my father couldn't take it from me. Nobody. It's mine. And I had that chip on my shoulder from a young age, which is a blessing, blessing in disguise. Why do I say all this? Because imagine if I thought that as a kid, I couldn't do anything. Imagine what I wouldn't have done. Imagine where I'd be. Imagine who I'd have settled being. But my life was different. I got to buy my friends lunch. I got to buy us lunch. I got to buy me whatever I wanted. I got to buy myself a car. I got to show myself and my family like I'm just different because I'm willing to do different things than different people. And I don't allow the beliefs of the world and the limitations of the world to change my vision of what's possible for me. Bring that all the way through my life, all the way up until now. I think at 26 years old is when I met my wife. And I said, I'm going to make my first million by the time I'm 30. And from somebody, from the Bay Area, it's not really normal to say or to do or to actually produce. And I think I was 29 by the time I hit my first million in business. How did I do that? Well, I was relentless in my pursuit to prove to myself that I could do this thing. And it's not really to prove to myself more than it was to follow through on my word. I think that a lot of people have let me down in my life. They've told me things, they've made promises. I'd have parents tell me, oh, we're putting aside money for you, we're saving up money for you. So that way there's ever an emergency or you get stuck in life, like you have access to this stuff. And those same people, when I was homeless and I said, hey, can I access that thing that you said you were like putting some money aside for? I'll borrow it. I'll pay it back, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's complications. I wasn't able to do it, blah, blah. But the whole time, I've had these people tell me, yeah, I'm putting money into it. I'm putting money, like making themselves feel good, lying to me about the security that they say they're creating for me that they never were. Shit like that. So you can imagine how toxic my mentality became on trusting people's word. And that's why people's word means a lot to me. And if your word doesn't mean anything for you and you just talk and you don't follow through, I don't believe your shit anymore. And I don't want you near me because I've had that for a majority of my life. That's how I run and operate business. That's how I run and operate life. So when we think about programming your reality, what if everything you choose to believe is what is the creator of your reality? The only variable that you can't mess with, you can't control is time. Let's say, for example, you genuinely believe and you fully heart, soul, and emotion believe that you will build $1 million business. And like, there's no part of you that lacks any belief in that. You don't know when, you don't know how, but right? Like you've programmed yourself to know. The thing is now you have to operate every day as if it's already happened. It's already like on its path. You already kind of know the destination. You're going to get to the destination. Now what you got to focus on is just the left and right turns. What if that's all it took? And by you getting good with, you can't control the timeline. Just like I didn't. I said, 4 years. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to take all the way up until 4 years. I don't know if it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. And a lot of the days and the weeks and the months in between, I was like, I don't even know if this is going to be possible. Who I had to become in that process was extremely important. That came through basically hourly programming. Imagine programming yourself every hour of every day you're awake, every week, every month, every year for years. That you just start genuinely believing you are who you say you are, and you start to act in accordance to who you are because you know who you are. Thus, won't you always get the result that you started in here in the mind as a vision? What if it was that simple, not easy? I teach my guys in my brotherhood this stuff. I operate this way. I don't really share it too much because I think it really does go over people's heads. And it's only the people that haven't achieved anything meaningful in life that start to talk about how woo-woo or stupid it sounds. When it's like, it could sound stupid to you, but my life has changed dramatically. My family's life has changed dramatically because these are what I choose to believe. There was this one guy on my Instagram, and he goes, man, I can't imagine bringing a kid into this world. I want to be a dad, but with everything going on in the world, I don't think I could handle them suffering. And in my head, I said, well, why would that be your doubt or concern that they would suffer? Like, why would you allow them suffering? You see what I mean? Like, why is that your train of thought? And I said, if I thought that way, I wouldn't have kids right now because I'd focus more on the fear than the love that I wanted to create building my family. He said, well, one day your children will suffer and I can't handle that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself, especially with inflation, especially with where the economy's at, especially with how expensive it is to even like pay for myself. And I said, again, like if that's your belief, of course you're going to be in a state of fear. You know, when I had my first kid, I lost my job during 2020. So imagine where I was, you know. But did I ever once believe like, oh, my kid I'm not going to be able to do this? Maybe I thought it. I definitely thought it. I definitely had fears if I was going to be able to follow through. But I always had more conviction to prove that I was never going to let that happen than sitting in the fear that it would, if that makes sense. So I told him again, I said, hey, if that's what you believe, if you don't understand that when you have kids or when you start to elevate this thing in your life, you start to perform more and better than you ever have before, and you can't see that, I'm not going to be the guy to force you to believe in yourself like that. What you believe is what you get in this life. So if it's true, what you believe is what you get in this life, what if what you believe is what your reality becomes? And then people will say, well, what if God calls me to do this? Or what if God's not calling me to do that? What if he is? What if, you know, you're called to do something, but nobody's going to take or walk that path for you, which is where your free will comes into play. Are you going to step into who you're being called to be? Right? Nobody's going to do that work for you, not even God. But what if God says, hey, you have a bigger purpose, but you have to choose every day to suffer, to self-actualize, to become who I'm calling you to be? See what I mean? And some people in this world, a lot of people in this world, will rather choose not believing in themselves, believing the worst out of the world and out of situations and circumstance. And those are the people that end up losing in life. It's a choice to lose. Well, Phil, you don't understand my circumstance. You don't understand it. I might not know exactly, but I've had my fair share of reasons to stay losing. And I just chose that that wasn't going to be my life, wasn't going to be my kid's life. Your life is what you allow yourself to believe. So you're going to believe something that doesn't serve you, or you're going to believe something that does. Think about it and start to shift your programming and ask yourself, if the world is normal and I want, I don't know if the word is abnormal results, do I really want to listen to the 99%? Or do I have to get good with starting to think like a 1%er? Deep reflection, deep thought is what I invite you to do. As always, if this is helpful, if this is expanding your mind and how you're viewing yourself, how you're viewing the world, how you're viewing business, like, share, subscribe, stay plugged in, follow the socials, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, stay plugged in, stay connected, and go through everything that I could possibly teach you, because I'm talking about building myself from the dirt up. The dirt up. And everything that happened in between. The drugs, the alcohol, the lack of belief, the fears, the survival instinct, survival mode, traumas, pain, darkness, all of it. I had to work through all of that to become who I am today. So there's a lot that I can impart into you that I will continue to impart. You just have to not only study what I teach, but you have to also apply. You have to execute. You have to use that knowledge physically in your world. Otherwise, your world will never change. See you on the next one.